Hey there, Team Flyer. How are you today? I'm so thrilled to be back with these amazing Go to Fly series special events. We started way back in August, which feels like a lifetime ago by now, with Brianna. We just did last month with Felicia Escobedo. And this month we have the beautiful Nicky Nieves. Well, before I tell you more about what Go to Fly is and things like that, I definitely want to introduce you first to her. So hi, Nicky. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm so excited. I was so excited last night to be talking to you again that I was like not sleeping. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Nicky Nieves. It's like, it's so cool. And I can't wait to like introduce you to like also my public, like so people get to know more about you as well. And I don't know, I got super excited. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Definitely. So for those who don't know by now, just in case, I always give you a little bit of a quick runaround of what Go to Fly is. It's a movement I created about 7 years ago, I want to say, and it started with workshops and conferences and blog posts and things like that, all the way till COVID hit. And then at some point of the year, basically, I was like, let's start a podcast because I want to share this message loud and proud. And, it's a message to stand up for yourself, to be your own hero, to work hard for your goals, to be yourself, and like many more things that people need to hear. We participate with real stories from around the world, clearly so. If you've been hearing our podcast all year long, we have stories from literally around the world and telling tales of tough struggles and paths and big journeys. So anyways, once again, we did every single Wednesday like we're doing here this month with you. We have a brand new episode coming out, and August was a very first special with Brianna. September was a very second special with Melissa, and then this month we have you. We have all about you. So before we dive into what we're going to be talking about, tell us a little bit about yourself, my love.
Okay, so my name is Nicky Nieves. I currently play sitting volleyball for Team USA. I am a nonprofit owner called Limitless People Incorporated. I do have a blog too called Life is Nicky. And yeah, I'm just a lover of water, anything beach and spring related, even rivers. I really love working with kids. I coach at a nonprofit over the summers called Numbability, and it's just working with kids that are limb different like myself. So for me, it's really big to be representation, not only as an Afro-Latina, but as being a limb different individual as well. So just being able to serve kids that look just like me and just go on the journey with them, finding their voice and being the strong athletes that they can be is really important to me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm excited to be here.
I just love your story. I'm so inspired, I swear. I got really excited because when we reached out, because we started talking to each other way back at, I think we did this in June, to be honest, by now. We did Latina. We did a Black Lives special, and then we called you in, and then you participated with us. And through then, you and me were just, constantly DMing and stuff like that. So I just asked you to be in one episode, and the fact that you wanted the whole month, I'm like, of course. And we're going to be talking, what we say, walking in your worth, which is today's topic. Definitely your nonprofit, which I so adore. I love working with kids as well. So that's a really big impact for me. Black Lives Matter, of course. And the most interesting one because of your aspect of being in sports, aging as a professional woman in sport, like in the sense of um, the age range and like when's the time to like bow out, or if there's a time limit, all these sorts of things that happen to like people in sports. And I mean, I am a big sports fan, so I know how big the topic is, and
Mhm.
especially being a woman because we're the ones getting pregnant and all, so
Yeah.
things like that all month long. So diving in to today's walking in your worth, I love how you express that so much. All right. Quarantine has been a time for reflection and inner growth for like literally everyone. I would feel like I would hope
Yeah,
so. I would
seriously.
hope so. You want to share what you're learning and how you apply that to your life. So what have you been learning through this whole literally year, basically, that we've all been quarantined by
Oh
now?
my gosh. I feel like I've been learning in every single aspect. So in the sports world, I've worked with a sports psychologist pretty much since 2016. And I've had two different ones. So one of them got a different job within a hospital setting, and then the one that we just had now, the same thing. She's finishing her doctorate, so she switched over. Um, and both of them really taught me how to just like recognize what's going on when I feel a certain way, because I feel like emotionally, I I wasn't a train wreck, but there was a lot of things going on right before Rio came, and I was so concerned with like losing weight and looking a certain kind of way and performing well and not letting my family down, and how do I serve my family but I'm away from my family. And then now, it's kind of like, it was kind of like the same thing. Like, we're gearing up for Tokyo, and I know that I want to be a better athlete, because my whole thing is I always want to beat out who I was in that same tournament previously. So Tokyo 2020 was coming, and I was like, okay, I need to beat out 2016 Nikki. Like, what was she looking like? What was her body fat? How many kills was she averaging? Like, that's like my thing. But I know how bad I got in 2016 and how they helped me. So being able to like work with both of them, that helped me like recognize like what were the triggers that made me feel that way, what made me spiral, was really important. So using all of those tools, not only sports wise, but in the real world, because of COVID. So now it was like, I'm training for Tokyo, I'm trying to be better, but everything's just kind of stopped. And for a while, I was like, yeah, for a while I was like in denial about it. And I was like, no, the game's just still gonna go on. It's okay. And then like, little things start shutting down. And then there's like talk of postponing the games. And then my sister got sick. And it was just like, wow, okay, crap, this is real. Like, so
It took us a while. It took us a while to
it really
realize.
did. It really did. And I didn't even think, it's weird because everybody's going through it. So even at some points I felt bad talking about it with my sports psych person, because I was like, she's going through it too. Like, I don't want to put so much on her, or even talk too much about it, because she has her own thing to worry about. Um, but no, definitely everything that they had taught me definitely played a big part in just recognizing what my triggers were inside and outside of sport, and then continuing on. Like, so yeah, like, it's okay to be sad. Everybody's going through it. Everybody has a time to grieve, but okay, what are you doing now? So that's one big thing that I learned, just in like getting over the hump, not letting the snowball get so big that like now I'm having to chip away at it for months, when it could just be like a couple of flakes and I just blow them off of my hand. You know what I mean? And then as far as like my relationship with God, I've learned that like it's very personal. We've done Bible studies within like my family. So it's been me and my mom and my nieces and nephews. And sometimes we'll have the church kids gather, and my cousins do it with us too. And we'll all take turns just kind of like giving Bible study and saying what we learned. And one of my themes that still resonates with me today was like, it's so personal to the point that like you can't compare it to anybody else, and it's just like your journey, like when you're growing up, when you're becoming a professional, whatever you're doing, you're going to school, you're finishing a degree, you can't compare it to anybody else. And my problem was that like, not that people have bad intentions, but like you have your friends that are like religious and very much so like walking in the faith, and they're always like pushing you to be better and stuff. But sometimes I feel like as a woman, you're so quick to compare because you see on the outside what their relationship looks like and how they're so religious and stuff. And for a long time, I was like, I kind of like, for lack of better words, gave up, because I was like, my relationship is never going to look like that. Like, I'm different. Like, I have a home church, but I don't get to go as often because I'm traveling a lot. And, and my personal life looks like this. And my relationships look like this. And it literally took quarantine for me to just realize that like my relationship is personal, and I can't speak on anybody else's behalf, and it's not going to look like anybody else because it's not meant to look like anybody else. And it's meant to look like Nikki and God, and Nikki's talk with Jesus while she's praying. It's not meant to look like, Sister Sharon or whoever. And even with all of that, it's like, what I'm reading and how I take it might look different from somebody else because everybody interprets differently. Now, of course, you don't want to take your stuff out of context. But it's still like, you know, I had like this false thing in my head that like, God is so far away because my relationship doesn't look like my mom's. And, you know, like he hears me, but it's kind of like an echo because, you know, I'm not where I should be, when in reality, it's like, you can, like, just like how you can always be better, your relationship can always be closer. And he's not that far away. So that's another big thing that I learned. Like, it's me, like, it's my personal relationship, you know? And lastly, just like learning to like value myself. I have realized that I am a people pleaser. And I say that because I'm a people pleaser within my family, yes and no, because sometimes I'll be like, I'm not doing that, and I don't care. Like, and then I feel bad, and I'll be like, okay. But when it comes to like people outside of my family, I have been so afraid to like disappoint and to let people down and to not show up that I'm just like, okay, okay, okay. And then on the inside, I'm like, oh my God, I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do that. I'm building resentment for it because I'm always saying yes, you know. Same thing goes for relationships. You know, you have someone that you were with for a little while and you really, really love them, but it just does not work. It just doesn't work. And it's not to say that you're a bad person or they're a bad person. It just doesn't work. You guys just don't mesh. And it's like, just Nicole, like, learn how to say no. Like, know your value. It's not working. It's just, I don't know. I just growing in all kinds of aspects during this quarantine. And I mean, growing pains, right? Like, you don't really, for me, I didn't never really understood, like, I understood it, quote unquote, but like I never really experienced it until now. And it's crazy because like I turned 30 this year, well, last year. And I was like, man, like I don't really feel like anything's different. And then, you know, half of the year hit and my body changed and COVID hit. And I'm like, oh, and like, you know what I mean? Just like literally like evolution. They were like, what's your word for 2020? And I was like, evolution, because I feel like I am completely different from like who I was 6 months ago.
So much truth bombs, like after one after the other, Nikki. This is why I got so excited to have you all month long, because you have so much important messages to say to the world. I swear, I don't even know where to begin with you right now. Everywhere. I love your word, evolution. I do agree with that one. That's the thing. I keep talking. I record usually these, you know, sometimes not back to back, but you know, every single day there's always one to record and things like that. So I feel like at this point already I've repeated myself a whole bunch, but I know in different kind of episodes. So I'm always gonna say it one more time that this is just like the process of life, basically. Like for me, like I get this all the time with my closest friends, and even my husband, of course. Like, again, if he met you 5 years ago, you're always ever changing, you're always growing, you're always inspiring to be a better version of yourself. This has nothing to do with 2020. The only difference, what people keep telling me, is like with what happened this year, is like everyone's going through it, like exactly what you were saying. So it's kind of feels a little bit heavier because at the same time that we're all understanding each other, we're also growing to each their own in each capacity
Yeah.
into their own like beliefs, of course. And you know, at the same time, everyone can still once again understand each other to some extent. So that's the only biggest difference. Whereas before, every single year, I'm like, it's not just 2020. Like 2021 for me is also going to be your evolution, because if you want to be better than you were yesterday, not better than anybody else, better than yourself yesterday, then you're always going to be in a constant evolution. It's just this year kind of brought it up even more
Yeah.
because of quarantine, because you had time to stop and like be like, whoa. And then with me, in my particular, it's completely different than what it looks like for most people. I work from home anyway, and I
Yeah.
started my business from home. I was already at home before quarantine
Yeah.
hit. I just moved from Spain to the States. I was barely getting out, barely have new friends. COVID hit, and then, you know, my life kind of remained the same way. So I hear all these different stories, reflecting. I'm like, oh my God, you have time for all that? I'm like, oh, wait. you are not allowed to go out because your work or job was
Yeah.
going out. You were traveling. You were, in this particular case, you were playing sports, of course. So like for me, it was like, oh, that's so cool, because that makes, first of all, sense, obviously, but at the same time, literally that evolution, that growth, this is happening everywhere. So I
Yeah.
love that word for you and for this year, because I definitely agree. I love how you said about growing pains. You're right. I didn't see it into that perspective until you just mentioned it again. You know the word, like what it means, obviously, especially when you're a
Yeah.
teenager. You're like, okay, they're growing, their body's growing and changing, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I think you have growing pains. You're right. You do have them all throughout your life. And it's a nice way of saying that as well. You're like, oh, I'm experiencing growing pains. Doesn't matter if you're 30 or 45,
Yeah.
I love that so much. And then, not wrapping it up, but like one of the main things I did want to ask you, going back to like the name of the episode more or less, is walking in your worth. I adore that so much. So what does that entail for you? What does that mean for you?
It means being assertive when it comes to how I present myself, and not assertive. I hate when sometimes you say assertive and people like conjoin it with aggressive. Like, no, like
No.
assertive.
No,
Yeah,
assertive is not aggressive, people. No. I
yeah.
agree.
But just being assertive and like knowing what you bring to the table and knowing what your position is, and being confident in your skills and your task, and imposter syndrome, like kicking it in the butt, because that, I mean, it happens.
All the
um,
time.
I mean, perfect example, I was talking to someone a few months ago and they were like, oh yeah, it's a shame how the games got postponed and yada yada, and I was like, yeah. And people, like, in my community, people know that I've played volleyball forever. I've been on my team since 2011. And some people didn't take it as seriously as I would like them to, but that's okay, because a lot of people don't even know about adaptive sports. And then it's kind of like, oh, you play what? And it's just like this, like, even myself, like this whole world opens up and you're like, what? Like,
This is why
what?
I'm excited to talk about that episode, because I do love sports and I respect it so much. And I'm like, oh my God, people need to know more about it. That's just, people need to
Yeah.
be more freaking aware, to say
Yeah,
the
so
least.
I can get it. Like, I'll grant grace because people, the wool's coming off of your eyes, you're learning and stuff. But for me, it's always just kind of been like I've allowed people to like say things that aren't necessarily true, or decrease the value of a Paralympic athlete and not say anything back. So they're like, oh yeah, but it's really sad, for the Olympians particularly, even like swimmers, because they've been working so hard and now their training has just stopped abruptly. And I'm like, all athletes, yeah, Paralympic and Olympic. And they're like, no, but especially, the Olympic ones, because you don't understand. And I said, no, all athletes. Mind you, I like in my gut, I'm like, Nicole, because, I don't want to, like, you're Latino, you learn, like, don't be disrespectful, don't talk back. But like, no, like, all of us. And then again, the person was like, no, but all of them. And I was like, let me explain to you something. Yes, it is very unfortunate for Olympic athletes because, yeah, they're working towards a goal. I was like, but it's the same with Paralympic athletes. I was like, so if we just look at my team, we have this thing called a bumper chart, and that displays what our year is going to look like a year at a time. So we have one that's set for the quad. So quad's 4 years when you're training up for the games. I was like, and then you get an individual one for each year. I was like, so for this year, we're hitting it heavy. Like, we're literally playing all the time because we're set to peak out at the games. So even right before I came home for quarantine, I played, 10, 12 matches in a weekend, literally. And that's with my coach switching out lineups and everything so you can get stats on everybody so we can do this. Like, we that's what we're used to, we'll fly to the Netherlands for the weekend, playing a tournament. Oh, flying, like, legit, flying on a Friday, 3 hours later we play, and then we'll play 2 more matches. We'll play 3 on the Saturday and then play 2 on Sunday, legit have our bags with us and leave. Like, and that's our coach creating that pressure to see how we like handle it. I was like, so for us, we're building up to peak at the games. I was like, so imagine me and my teammates peaking, like building up on everything. So this is weights, this is conditioning, this is constant reps. I was like, I was living over there because that's what I do. I moved back to the training site before we have a big tournament. And now I'm home. Everything has stopped. My gyms are closed. I can't even get in a gym to like move heavy weight. So now I'm training at home with lighter weights. And that's a personal freak out for me because I don't like feeling like I can't get better. I hate feeling like that. I hate feeling like a sudden stop. I was like, so it's hard for everybody. And not just Olympic athletes, Paralympic athletes. It's hard for every single athlete that was on the road to Tokyo. And she's like,
Period.
oh, okay, I guess. So it's little things like that where it's like being assertive, like, no, I can't do that because X, Y, and Z, or having people value your time. So just walking in my worth was really just, being confident in who I am, being confident in, who my mom raised me to be, an outspoken woman that's still respectful, a Christian woman that has values, an athlete that's working super hard, just taking that and like applying it to my life. So when people do come at me incorrectly, I'm confident enough to be like, no, that's not it. Let me show you what it really is.
I love that. I love that sentence, and I love that empowerment behind those words because they sound simple, but it's not, and there's so much strength within that. And I feel like that's a big word to say, but still everyone's goal. I was gonna say, like, that, I feel like that's something you need to aspire to in general, to knowing your worth and value. And like what you were saying before about people pleasing, I was like raising my hand here in the background because I was like, we do it. We're empaths and we're world travelers because life brought us that way. We are Latina. Afro-Latina doesn't matter. The same thing. We're sisters in that kind of way. And we're just raised to always say yes to people and not yes to ourselves. So that all lines up to, people pleasing, all these sorts of things. That's why for me, when we decided to open, the month with this, it was like, this is the one that sets a tone for everything else. First, know your worth and your value, please. So yes, completely yes to all that. Oh my gosh. Going back to what you were saying is that you mentioned talking to God a lot in both a professional and personal life. Is that something that, even though you told us a little bit right now, you've always had with you? How was it like taking it on the journey through like your professional life, for example?
What do you mean? Rephrase that.
Like talking to God and having him close. How did that affect you? Is it something that you always were guided by? How was your experience with that?
It's been one of the routines that it's almost kind of just like second nature. Like I just automatically do it. And one thing that my mom told me to do, and she's been telling me for like years, and sometimes I'll do it, sometimes I won't. I'm trying to make it a bigger habit. It's just like writing things down. So like when I'm talking with God and I see them come to fruition, just so I can continue to like be grateful. Not to say that I'm not, but like just really seeing it, because it's easy to like pray for something, and for me, it's not even really materialistic. Like I'm not a materialistic person. It's always like, oh, give me the strength to like talk to these people in a certain way, or have these people see my value, or just, I don't know, just making me stronger. And in that sense, professionally and both in and out of sport, it's been one of those things where it's my second nature. So even like in Rio, I don't know if I would call it journaling, but I wrote my prayers down. And usually it's hard for me to write something that I'm thinking, because now I'm talking nice and calm, but I usually talk really, really fast. And it's hard for me to write it because I feel like my hand can't go fast enough and I get frustrated. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not doing this. But in Rio, I like took the time to just like write it down and stuff, and just really talk to God and like try to understand stuff. And it was cool because it's kind of like a book, and you see everything kind of like happen step by step. And I remember just like asking God, like, why do I feel this way? And like, what's going on? And semifinals, we had lost our match against China, and we ended up winning to them. But just even like going back and reading that, like, I don't understand why we lost. We've done everything. Like, I've been heavy in prayer about it. And like just seeing everything go step by step. And then once we won, being able to go back and be like, wow, like God was with me the whole time and there was a lesson in all of us, you know, and we lost, but now I see like X, Y, Z, like there, even though sometimes it sucks, there is a reason for everything. And with that loss came our understanding of what needed to be done better and our understanding of how to communicate to my teammates better. Same thing with my professional life, it's weird. Well, it's not weird, but like, it's crazy that like second nature, I'm like, okay, 2019, I wrote down all these things that I wanted. And I was like, my life is very, very different to whereas like volleyball is my career, but I don't get paid like I would like to get paid. I wish I could get paid more like a full-time job. Mind you, I appreciate every dollar that I get from volleyball, but I'm not getting paid like an NFL player or a basketball player, So sometimes life gets a little hard and, just praying for like more opportunity and stuff and really like trusting that something was going to come around. And then literally out of nowhere, I don't even know how they got my contact information, because usually when people want to reach out to an athlete, they have to go through like Team USA, and then they reach out to us and they're like, is this okay? And it's like, oh yeah, but how? I don't know. Like Citibank had reached out and they were like, hey, we're trying to get in contact with Nikki and blah, blah, blah. And at first I was like, this is a spam email. Like, I'm looking at it, I was like, this is fake. And then I was like, well, let me just see. And I like wrote back and it was real. So I like got this big contract with Citibank and I was just like, what? Like, what are the odds? Like, that's like, what? Like, that's crazy. And something that I'm literally not even thinking about. Like, I'm not thinking about sponsorships or a big contract like that. I'm literally just thinking about like thinking small, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like, just a community opportunity or just the ability to do this. So it's definitely been something that like I've taken with me everywhere, just because it's been like the backbone. Like, although I want X, Y, and Z, his will and what he wants for me is always perfect. And it might be like frustrating to wait because I'm human and I'm American at that, so I have like the microwave mentality, like I want it quick, but just like learning how to have the patience and understanding that something better is coming. I'm putting in as long as I'm putting in the work, I'm being faithful, I'm doing what I need to do, I'm being a good person, I'm doing it with a good heart, knowing that like I'm going to be taken care of.
You of course left me speechless. I'm just like back here like agreeing with everything. Yep, I agree. Oh my god, yes. He provides. I mean, that's the only part where we differ in the sense of I believe more in the universe and I'm not as, religious or believe in God precisely, but I do believe in the greater good of the universe, something there protecting and lighting. So like I do reflect on that, and I'm always, if you know me, regardless of the podcast or not, I'm pretty open-minded. So whatever you want to name it, then hey, whatever works for you works. Mm-hmm. And I have the similarity of like you were saying with journaling. And it's true. I do agree. Even though I'm a writer, your thoughts work a million miles per minute and you're trying to figure everything out. And you're like, oh, okay. I only got like 10% of that down.
Frustrating, yeah. And I've been working on it. I found this really cool post on Instagram that was like, when you journal, don't judge yourself, write what comes to mind and don't reread it. Like, just keep going. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try that. And that's helped a little bit, but it's like really having to just like slow my brain, like chill out for a second. Like, let me write the cat. Just give me a second.
Let me just write the cat.
Yeah, like my brain's already on like the cat jumped off of the roof and I was thinking, oh my gosh, the cat's gonna die, but I'm like still trying to write the cat.
I agree so much, so freaking much. It's exactly what it is. I love your most random example as well. My god, love it, the cat. Oh my gosh. And then sorry, and then also is with what you were saying, like manifesting and just like stuff that he would provide, because he does at the end, like what you have at Citibank. Like I am super my translation to that is kind of like when I started my business and when I started the podcast, and I was like, I really want, to spread this message. And like you said, life gets hard and you got to pay bills and things like that. But then all of a sudden, little by little, you know, through me interviewing the world and knocking on every single and every single door, sorry, I met Anastasia. You know, I asked her to be interviewed.
Yeah.
I interviewed her twice for The Always Believer. She shared her story, and then the other one we talked a little bit more about life and social matters in general, to be honest. And through that, you know, we're creating a business and like so on and so forth. So it is something so wonderful to see that, like, at the end of the day, like you were saying, because you're good and you keep doing good and you keep, you know, practicing these little big
Mm-hmm.
things. At the end of the day, they sound little, but at the end of the day they do add up.
Yeah.
I really do. They feel really believe, sorry, that they add up, and it will work out. The patience, yes. I
It's
agree. Yes,
hard.
hard. It's hard because
It's
you want
so
it so
hard.
bad as well, and you're like, come on, I'm ready for it.
And sometimes the weird thing is like you're not even waiting that long, because like once you like get what you wanting or like it finally happens, you're like, oh, it was only like a week. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes
Yeah.
that's quick, but like in that week you're like, oh my God, how long am I gonna be here? 2 years? Like,
It does happen. It's like some sort of mind f, I swear, because it's one of those things that, like, not only because you said, because we're from the States basically, but no, also technology in life is really fast paced. We're so
yes.
used to having everything now. I feel like it links up some way or the other.
Yeah, everything at our fingertips. You don't know? Google it.
Yeah, exactly. And like, from that to shows, like, you don't have to wait a week for shows anymore. A lot of the times they drop the
Yeah.
show and you're like, well, that's no fun. I mean, thank you, but it's the build up basically. And I like,
Yeah.
you need that, because you're not ready before you're ready in 3 weeks time.
Yeah.
Or in 3 years, never know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
It's that, I agree. All right, so I know I have a million questions. I'm like trying to read my questions because I love our conversation so much. I'm like, where were we? um okay, so something else you've also said and you mentioned is that, you know, you have your personal beliefs, and that's what helped you gain the strength that you have today, which we talked a little bit about God again, and just like how you feel,
Hmm.
knowing your power. So how has all that guided you to get out of toxic relationships and gain a whole new set of confidence?
To be honest, it's just like sitting down and thinking, if he doesn't want that for me, why am I allowing it? You know what I mean? Like
Exactly. Yep.
it's so weird. For a long time, I used to date this guy, long distance relationship, and even to this day, I absolutely love him. But it doesn't work. We have differing opinions. Some of them strike my heart a little bit harder than others. And you know, just I tried. Like I was like, I love you so much. We don't work, but you know, maybe we can be friends. And even that was really hard. And I remember talking to she's retired now, but one of my old teammates, because she knew him even before I did, because he was also in the Paralympic world. And she's always been like supportive of me, like, oh, if, you know, if that's what you want to do, okay. But, you know, and she's done it for years, like for years. And finally she was just like, you know, I just because something's not working doesn't mean that it makes you a bad person. Because my whole thing was I don't want to leave a situation with the other person thinking that I was a bad person. And it could be the worst relationship on the face of the planet, but like I personally I'm just like, I don't want you to feel like I'm terrible. Like I'd rather you feel like, yeah, we didn't work, but Nikki's pretty cool. Like, you know, I don't want you to feel like I'm terrible. But she's like, but at this point you've done everything to not make yourself look terrible because you're not terrible. And you keep trying and it's not working and you're praying a lot and you know that this isn't what God wants for you. So why are you continuing to allow it to like affect your life? Um and I was like, yeah. And I mean, I understood it, but at the same point I was just like, but I still can't. Like it's hard, you know, like and even though it's bad, like you're so used to having that person with you for years that it's just really, really hard to like let go, especially when you love them. And then finally, you know, just all of like during quarantine, like all of this stuff just started happening. Um, and, people make stupid comments, and I kind of feel like it's, like you'd say the universe is kind of like God being like, I told you so. Like, how many more like examples do you need? So like stupid comments would come back. I remember like talking like, and for me, like God is really big, and I feel like that was like my one thing that was just like, okay, maybe. I was having a conversation and just talking about how like I wanted to be closer to God, and I was really working on my relationship with God and just like valuing my body and not just, letting people just come and just, oh, I like you, I'm gonna sleep with you. You know what I mean? And, valuing like my mind and really like trying to put more time into prayer and like dedication to that. And his response was just like, oh, okay. And like rolled his eyes. And I got really upset because I was like, what? And he was like, well, you know how I feel about, God and yada, yada. And I was like, yeah, but at the end of the day, like, I might not agree with like paths that you take or even career choices, and I support you 100%. I've always been there and I've supported you. He's like, well, I'm supporting you. I said, yeah, but when you tell me something that I don't agree with, I'm not rolling my eyes. Like, I'm supporting you. I might not agree with it, but I'm not going to sit here and make you feel bad about it. Like, that's your choice, And he's like, well, I just think it's crazy. And that like kind of was like a gut wrench for me. Like, dang, what? Like, what? And then, I literally just stood in my head, and time just kept going on, going on, going on. And then, the George Floyd happened, and, that was crazy. And, there were a bunch of posts of Latinos that were Afro-Latino saying, that they're not Black, they're Latino. And it's crazy how the Blacks are acting like that. And that's a whole topic within itself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
That we're definitely
but
talking
then,
about this month. We already know.
yeah. And then he would send me videos and be like, oh, is this how you feel too? And I was upset because I was like, you've known me for how many years now? Like, why would I feel that way? I'm Black. Like, what are you talking about? So legit, within those kind of conversations and focusing more on prayer, just so I can just meditate and really focus on what message I'm trying to like, or he's trying to send me to receive. I was just like, you know what? No. As much as it hurts, like I said before, like his plan and his will is always better. And what am I holding on for? I've done everything in my power that I can control to like make you feel loved, supported, everything, like to be your friend, to make our friendship work, and I'm not getting anything in return. Nothing. And I understand that people serve in different capacities, people's love languages are different. Um, but we're not there's a disconnect. And as much as it hurts, I know there's something else that's better out there. So it's like one of the things, like I have to trust that like this relationship does not serve me well in any aspect, and really sticking to it. Has it been hard? Absolutely. Like I said, it's been years that we've known each other and that we've dealt with each other. So it's been really like even little things where I'm just like, oh, we find that funny. But then I'm just like, you need to stop. Like, no, there's no need for you to like reach out and send it. Like, okay, you acknowledge that you find it funny. That's cool. Um, but yeah, just really like sticking to my guns on it and really being disciplined about no is no, and it's done. It served its purpose and it's done.
I love that message without a doubt, because going back to the whole 2020 COVID quarantine aspect of life right now, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's happening a lot, and I feel like we're definitely realizing who's there and who's showing up and what you allow in your life and what energy, because that's exactly what's happening to me, not with X by any means, explanation, let's put it this way, not with a romantic relationship, but yes, with like
Yeah.
friendships, because that is still
Yeah.
a relationship, that's still
Something you put time and effort and energy into.
exactly, like it's still something very it's definitely something, a friend is very very valuable actually.
Yeah.
So it did open up our eyes a lot more, and especially for a woman like you and like me, because even though we believe in different things, our line of commitment towards the greater good and like God, the universe, whatever, our faith into that is what how we line up, of course.
Yeah.
And because we're constantly working on ourselves, we have to take that step back and be like, why am I allowing this? What's happening? And with
Yeah.
me, That's why I resonate, it's not only with friends, it's also with labels. In other words, family members, and figuring out, like,
Yes.
just because they're my so-and-so, why am I giving them power where they haven't really been a part of my life? And even if because they're this label, I mean, I'm always trying to be discreet about it, but in general, when we do talk in certain episodes about family members, and I've had guests on for Go to Fly talk about their so-and-so and their so-and-so, it's like empowering as well, because like, yeah, we know that it's a difficult topic, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if, like you were saying, if it doesn't serve you, then what's the point? And what you said, I agree with the other two things you said. One, I'm very much like you, like, even if it was like the worst relationship and you tried your best, you still want to make sure like you end in good terms. And sometimes
Yeah.
you can't. Because like that's, I don't want you to see like I'm a bad person. Like I know I have my faults and things like that, but like I really, really tried. And like you after you put all the effort and love and attention to it.
Yeah.
And talking about quotes, because you mentioned one earlier as well, the one you saw the Instagram post, but I forgot the exact quote I saw, and I love. If you know me, I love Disney. But one of the quotes I have to remember. Shoots. Anyways, it's you're always gonna be the villain in somebody else's story, whether you like it or not.
Mm,
Whether you don't consider yourself a villain because you know that you're doing the best you can, to still some aspect of that person, you're like, oh, this person did
yeah.
me wrong, and we ended abruptly, and you know what I mean. So going through all those waves and emotions and feelings of this year, particularly, I love what you said, because that's the message. It's like no is no, and like you have to learn to walk away. Um,
Yeah.
Even if they look like you, even if they think that you're a villain, or even after having a 10-year friendship with that person or more, you're kind of like, I tried, okay, am I really going to mess my time, or can I just move on and fill my life with people who can be 50-50
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
appreciate the
exactly.
worth. So yeah, and then the other part that you said, of course, about his opinions, you're like, do you not know me? Do you not know who I am?
Yeah, I'm like,
Like, dude.
after all of these years, like, I don't like, I'm like, and then you start to think, like, did I give that impression? Like, should I have been more, this way? And then I'm like, clearly no. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay. Look,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's perception is different, and so is yours. So, okay.
So yeah, this is basically the general sense of like what was one of my next things, moving on. Like I love your lesson so much, and like learning to add value into your life and moving on, even if it hurts. And I feel like
Yeah,
that's essentially what you were saying. Just move on.
yeah.
Um so how has trying to think, because we did talk a lot about different kind of things, that I was going to say, how has faith and trust helped you? But I think you already spoken a lot on the different
Hmm.
little ways. What are things that you do on a daily that are self-care, for example?
Oh, well, one of my things is definitely workout. Um, I work out 6 days a week. The only reason I don't go 7 is because I'm like, okay, girl, give Sunday to God, and two, okay, girl, give your body a break. um, and to be honest, my self care is really just having the time to myself. So like before COVID, like I just like love to be everywhere. So whenever we have tournaments, instead of coming back to the States, I would like stay out. So I'd be like, I'm gonna stay in Europe, and I'd go like Croatia and do this and do that and go by myself. I'm very much like a lone wolf. I can do everything by myself. Um, and I just realized that like I am an is it I'm an extroverted introvert. So like I can
Yes, I think you and me are the same. The more I talk to
yeah,
you,
so
I'm
like
like,
I can be around people. Yeah, I can be really loud. I can have fun. I can be the life of the party. But I need to be by myself at some point.
yes,
Like I
please.
just need to be by myself and just give me a moment. Let me just do this by myself. I remember one of my really good friends, she's also my teammate. She was like, yeah, I learned about that in China. Because we were 2 weeks in China And sometimes like people think like, oh, like you go everywhere and you vacation. I'm like, if you only really knew, like we went to China for 2 weeks and I saw down the block and the gym and my room for 2 weeks. We didn't go anywhere. Like my coach doesn't play that. My coach, like literally for us to be able, when we went to Japan in November, for us to be able to like sightsee, I like made a deal with him. I was like, okay, Bill, please. And he's like, well, I don't know. And I was like, okay, look, because we like passed like this temple on the way back to our hotel. I was like, all of us will bring our clothes with us. We will change quickly after the game. We will not complain. We will be back on the bus on time. We will do whatever. If you want to have a team meeting, we won't complain about it tonight. He's like, okay. So he literally like gave us an hour. We like changed that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like little things like that. So I'm like, I literally like, that's my life. So anyways, 2 weeks in China, didn't see much. I didn't pack well enough. So usually when we go to China, we bring a lot of our own food because like we're not allowed to eat certain things, you know. But that trip I really didn't pack well enough. So I basically ate like rice and egg every day. And the rooms were really weird. They were big rooms. They had like 3 beds in it, and the AC was all the way on the other side of the room. So that side of the room stayed cold, and then my side of the room where I was at was super, super hot. And then my teammate didn't want to stay in the room that she was assigned, so she stayed in my room with us. So it was 4 of us in one room, but there's not 4 beds, so she stayed in my bed with me. Yeah, and like, see, like you're already like, oh my God.
I know, right?
Yeah, so literally, and then on top of that, the rule is in like the hotel or the training site, wherever we're staying, we're not allowed to walk around without another person. So I legit can never be by myself. Literally, the time that I have by myself is like in the shower, and that's about it. Because you're
that's
always
literally about it.
Yeah, you're literally always with people.
Exactly.
So legit, I was like, I am gonna go crazy. Like, leave me alone. Or like they'd be like, oh, we're gonna go do this, and I was like, no, I want to be by myself. Why? Come on, do this. And I'm like, no, I just need to be by myself. Like, you guys go have a blast. You want to walk around the hotel? Yeah, go. Like, it's fine. Go ahead, go. I'll just stay here. Yeah, so literally, like self-care for me is just like, leave me by myself. Leave me by myself. I'm fine. I can entertain myself. I can go anywhere. I just need to like, I don't know, like to spend one-on-one time with Nikki. That's really my self-care.
I adore that so much. Because it's so truthful. It's so real. I think it's that extroverted introverted because much like you, I'm a huge partier. I love having people over all the time. Like you said, life of the party. Get the party started. You know, whatever. But even within that, I'm like, I need time and space to like just go back into like and have a Zen moment with myself.
Yeah.
Like that's so
like
important.
that's like my recharging. Like I've done all of this stuff. I need a recharge because now I'm on empty.
And especially when it comes to like giving energy and I'm so used to getting other people's energy as well because it's, you know, I think it's the empath, I think that's the word I'm looking for, that, you know, you have so much going on. You're like, let me just regroup by myself. And much like you, hun, I'm as independent as they come. You know,
Yeah.
I moved out when I was 17. Well, I moved all my life, even before being 17 years old, but I moved out. I was already working. I had to drop out of high school, but it's a whole different storyline. And I was just go traveling around the world, in this case Europe, because that's where I lived.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I can go to movies by myself. I can take my own self to dinner. Like I'm okay with that. Like I am totally okay. Like at the amount of times I've gone to the movies, sometimes even with friends, but they want to see a movie and I see something different, and people are like, not my friends, but when I tell other people, they're like, why? Like,
yeah.
Like why would I sit on a 2-hour movie that I don't want to watch?
I don't want to watch.
And I'll hang out with them after. Like, let me just watch my movie. You know what I mean? It's like, let me do me, please. So exactly. I definitely, and then your whole situation reminds me of any of my house situations. I'm so used to living with 1,000 people, what it feels like, because I moved so much. I had roommates from all different shapes, ages, and sizes. Currently living with my husband's family, and I'm like, I need that time with myself. Like I just have a place of my own and be like, okay. So I get you.
Sometimes it's just too much.
Yeah. I think it definitely tends to be. I feel like my other little side story talking about the parties. even if they weren't my parties or like parties that I made in my house or whatever, somebody else's, um, it could be 2 a.m. Well, in Spain we party differently, so we party
I
later.
realized that when I went over there.
Okay. Oh, we gotta talk about Spain a little. Oh
I
my
was like,
God, this
it's like
place.
12 o'clock. You guys are just coming out now.
Yeah, 12 is still early. Like to get like the club is bumping like at 2 a.m. So like
Yeah.
you would go at that time. We have dinner later and we
Yeah.
close the club like at 7, 8 in the morning without a doubt. So on regular nights, sometimes at 2, 3 in the morning, maybe not then, but like at 4 maybe, I sometimes like disappear for a little bit, kind of like even within like, oh, but you're the hostess, and I'm like, yes, I'm the hostess with the mostess. I get the point, but I still need a half an hour break. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, let me just walk away for a little bit and then come back. And after this, even like on my birthday party, so like people who know me, they know like, oh, okay, like she'll be back like in her 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me refresh.
Go recharge really quick.
Exactly. It's like I haven't left. I just need a moment. Even though this is my party, I know, but still, I need a moment.
Yeah.
I think I even did that at my wedding. To be honest, I don't think about it. Just kind of like give me. Just let's breathe.
I can understand it though.
And
Where's
also,
Anya? Yeah, she's in the bathroom. Give her a second.
yeah, exactly.
She's in there like hanging out, like, oh.
Oh, there you go. And also like taking it in as well. But you're like, okay,
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, I love this conversation so much. I don't even know where to continue. Okay, so I know the answers to the next one, but I do want you to talk about it because I just want your input, of course, on how to make your life better, essentially. So the question is originally, do you still face adversity and lack of respect to this day?
Oh,
Of
most
course.
definitely. Yeah, it's still there. Even like when people don't think that Paralympic athletes work as hard. That's one of them. Uh, Definitely. But you know what? I've come to realize that I feel like that's gonna be one of those things that just don't go away. It might like not be as strong because I feel like 2020 is like the year where people are realizing that no, not everybody's the same. Even like within the LGBTQIA plus community. You know what I mean? Like
Preach. Thank
learning
you
how
so
to
much
have
for that.
respect for that
Yep.
community. Like nobody's the same. Um, it might dwindle down a little bit, but I feel like it's just one of those things that's never gonna go away. Now it's just on me to like, how do I address it when it happens? You know?
It's mainly that part because I already knew that we already knew that the answer was going to be yes, of course. But
Yeah.
addressing it is, I'm assuming everything you just said in this episode and then some, basically.
Yeah.
Just, I know we're going to be touching on the subject again a little bit more, of course. And I do agree with you. It's always going to be there. I feel like it's one of the most challenging things because even though you and me are completely different in perspective, aspect, physically, just a lot kind of things, but we do understand each other because that's what we have
Yeah.
in common. We got
All the
teased and
commonalities.
bullied and you
Yeah.
know what I mean, like in different ways, but still the factor is there at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So talking about something a little bit brighter, of course, even though we're going to have the episode about your professional life again, what is one of your biggest professional moments? Like what's one of your biggest happy moments?
Oh man. I for there's so many, but the biggest one would probably be winning golds in Rio, and that's just because I saw everything that it took to win that medal, and I was a part of everything that it took to win that medal, and then seeing your hard work come to fruition. So, I mean, just like with any athlete, sometimes you work really hard and you don't end up with the gold. It's happened to us too, many times. Um, but just being able to be a part of the journey that like my teammates before I was on the team were trying to get there. And then I was blessed enough to like join them and to work hard and the tears that we cried together and the sacrifices that we made together and just really learning how to really work together to be better so we could all like get the common goal and really dialing in because we could all want to win a gold medal but everybody's dial-in is going to look different, but to know that like even though it looked different, you still did it to where you were benefiting the team as much as you could, and then it got us the gold medal. Was probably like it's a beautiful thing.
It
It's a
really
beautiful
is.
thing.
I can't wait to talk more about that as well and just that kind of aspect of all the hard work that goes with it as well, that people don't think to understand. Literally the comment, I just remember the one you said before, like, girl, you're in China and you're traveling, you're like, this is work, this is like, you
Yeah.
don't understand. And this is not only because like it has happened to me, and not that I'm any sort of professional athlete by any means, but even when my lines of work, when I had to travel for them, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm in a hotel room and going to a conference. Yeah, I'm speaking for thousands of people about this topic, but
Yeah, but it's work.
like you're working, like seriously. Like I
Yeah.
get it, I totally get it.
And even like the sacrifices, like, man, like one of my teammates has 3 kids. So like the sacrifice of like being away from your kids, and the sacrifice of like, for the ones that do work full time, there was 2 at that time. Saving up all of your vacation days to use them to go to the games. Like, you know what I mean?
Stuff that people don't even know about,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So
That's
it's
why.
just, it's not like we can just say, oh, we're not going to go and our money covers it. No, it's like, let me save all of my vacation and my paid sick days, so I can go to the games and still get money to pay my bills and still have a little bit of days left over, to where I can like stay over there and enjoy it a little bit before you come back to the States.
Exactly.
So
So talking once more, wrapping up this particular episode about walking in your worth, how
mhm.
important for you is it to talk about this topic to your people, to your friends, your family, but your audience, people who love you for the way you are?
I think it's important for the people that really know me, um, for them, because I feel like I surround myself around pretty positive and encouraging people that are always speaking life into me, and always like assuring me that, like, yes, you are that girl, and yes, you do have these accolades to prove that you can get this job done, um especially in moments of like doubt. um I feel like it's important for them to see it, because like they see that their like words aren't in vain, that that I take their words with me, especially like with my mom and like my best friends. So I think that's important, just because like you're speaking into me, and I see it and I feel it, and I'm taking it on with me on this journey. And then to the people that don't know me, the audience, or people that might know a little bit about me, but we aren't that close. um just seeing that it's possible to change your opinion. It's possible to like speak on your worth and have the confidence and to walk in it. So many people think like, oh, you had this opinion before, that it's impossible to change it, like that you have to stick with that. No, we all grow, our opinions change. You wake up from your ignorance. I've certainly woken up from many ignorant points that I've had in my life, and I'm like, oh no, that's not okay. And now I can confidently walk in my worth and know how to like be assertive and talk to people in a way that gets my point across, but it's still respectful, and I can get respect in return. um and for the people that are like still on the fence about it, or are still struggling to just be that woman, they can see me do it and be like, okay, well, she can do it, I can do it. And especially because one of my big things, like, I'm missing a hand. So it took me a long time for me to be comfortable in just having my hand out, and feeling like I wasn't going to be loved properly because I didn't have a hand, just finding worth in myself as an individual that was limb different. And I feel like a lot of people can resonate with that, because they might not be missing a hand, but it might be something else. So might be acne, because as a woman with a lot of acne, that gets on our self-confidence. It might be, maybe your appearance, the way that you look, and any little thing, any little insecurity that you have. I just hope that someone would look at me and feel like, she's doing it and it was hard for her, and she's voicing that it was hard for her. She's not just pretending, oh no, it's been a piece of cake my whole life, to see that it's possible. Am I 100% where I would like to be? Of course not. We're all ever growing, ever evolving, working to be better every single day. And everybody starts somewhere. So regardless of where you are in your journey, to walking in your worth and getting that confidence, you can start from where you're at right now.
And that's definitely one of the best ways to finish this episode, without a doubt, because I love that message, and that's what we're all about. I completely agree. That I do see that in you, not that I know you very well, of course, like your closest friends, but even if you see like your feed and things like that, what you post, you do see like look at her, she can do it, I can do it. And not that I'm, like you said, not that I'm missing one,
Yeah.
but we all have our ideas
Something.
behind, we all have something one way or another, you know? And to see that strength and that courage, and I love what you said, and this is why I created the Always Believer and this movement, Go to Fly. Life is not perfect. I was sick and tired of seeing people online and offline being like, oh yeah, I struggled, but I'm okay. Or like in the sense of like not telling the full picture behind the picture. You know, the
Yeah.
person might have been abused, but from point A to point B, you didn't see everything in between. And then in point B, they're selling you like, oh, this is the way life is perfect. And you're like, no. And something I make really clear to like our community, anytime that I put my Insta stories, either this believer, my personal profile, either or, same thing. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, yeah, I can sit here, I'm talking to you like a Paralympian gold medalist, and I'm freaking out because like that's just like such a big, I'm like a fangirling moment, you know what I mean? Like I always say,
You.
like I'm able to talk to someone like you, that just, it's so impactful for me. Like I said, I couldn't sleep last night. I was so excited. And like my husband was like, oh my God, I know. And he was excited for me because he knows how much I love
Oh,
sports. But he's like, oh, good. And, you know, and I'm like, but you can start from anywhere basically. And I'm also going to tell you, because people ask me like, oh, but you talked to and Natalie Kelly. No worries. You know, you, Brianna, were like all these sorts of people. And I'm like, yeah, but even if I'm doing all that and like creating a business and a lifestyle for myself, I'm still gonna tell you that there's a lot of days that I just feel sad and like don't know what the F I'm doing. Like I'm still,
yeah.
you know, I'm most likely gonna upload to my feed a picture of me without any makeup, but because that's just, I don't wear makeup in general. When I do, then I feel weird. I mean, I like it, but like
Yeah.
I'm my best self, my most natural self. I'm not gonna portray something I'm not. So all these factors, and if you've been following me long enough, you know, and you've seen
Mhm.
it, and you like, you know what I mean? Like it's what I always
Yeah.
say, because that's why I love about you sharing your story, and that's why I got so excited that you wanted to share so many of the stories, because like you're not here to fake it. You're like it's hard. It's freaking hard.
Yeah.
But you
Not gonna lie to you.
know,
But it
exactly.
really is.
But you know, like we're talking about this because there needs to be conversation about this. There is a light on the other side. There's a light right now, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I love that. I truly appreciate stories like yours, and you just being not only brave, because I feel like, yeah, you were fearless and or brave in many aspects of life, but I feel like you're just living your life because you're a human being,
Mhm.
period.
Yeah.
And you're sharing the ups and downs. And then not only that, my love, the nonprofit that I can't wait to talk about you talk about it next week, of course. That your nonprofit, I'm all about like you're using your platform for good. So kudos. In other words, kudos to you and your message, because it's showing up. It really, really is.
Thank you. That's the goal.
It shows. It shows. So for last, anything else you want to add to this particular episode, my love?
Um, no, I just hope that, the listeners out there just take everything that I said with love and just apply it accordingly.
There you go. Miss Birthday Girl as well.
Woohoo!
Exactly. I just realized I saw the date. Your birthday was yesterday. So
Hmm.
happy, 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 happy birthday. This is a great place to start. I know the first time we
Thank you.
emailed about this, you're like, oh my God, it's my birthday month. And I was like, oh my God, for reals? And you also said something really kind and nice both ways. You're like, you would love to start your year spreading this message. And it doesn't
Yes.
matter what platform you just happen to use ours, which I'm very thankful for. But I think that's just a really nice way to start your next year. So
Yeah.
yay! Alrighty then. So for everyone else listening, tune in to our beautiful talks with Nikki all month long. And next week we are talking about your nonprofit and what you're all about and that message behind everything that you do. And yeah, so stay tuned for more. Have a nice day. Bye.
Excited. Bye.